I'm ready.
Today's Monday, March 6, 2017. I call this meeting to order. Sandy, can you please call roll?
Mr. Warren.
Present.
Mr. Sims.
Present.
Ms. Jacobs.
Present.
Mr. Brister.
Present.
Mr. Henderson.
Present.
Mr. Lockett. Mr. Brown. You have a quorum. You also have present Anna Dow, Larry Bankston, and Sandy Evans.
All right, meeting is called to order. Is there any public comment on today's agenda?
Good morning.
Morning.
I assume I probably need no introduction, but for the record, it's Robert Burns. I'll confine all of my comments to item 3. And I'll just say that I think that Reverend Phillips is one of the most persistent people I've ever met in my life. We began the process for this about 2.5 years ago. Last year, as he applied for membership on this LALB, he told me that he felt like he was going to have too much time constraints as being a member of the LALB. And so we opted to defer. As everyone knows, he didn't stay on the LALB very long. So then we were set to go forward with the school once again, and then he got hit with the flood. So 8 months later, we're now finally ready to kick this thing off. I'm looking very forward to it. I think it's going to be a very, I know that several times there's been discussion about, well, a license really doesn't cost that much, and that's true. But I think sometimes we forget the outlays we had to make when we first entered the industry. It isn't inexpensive. The cost of going to a school, getting sound equipment, bid cards, things of this nature. Now, if you're employed by a firm, you may not have all those costs, but if you're going to go out and do this, as many people do, and as I did, you're looking at significant upfront financial investment. And I know that Reverend Phillips is doing everything he can to try to minimize that cost. I'll let him allude to it if you have any specifics, but I do know that he has a genuine desire for those that may not be able to afford the $7,000 or $8,000, and that's collectively what it would cost going to an auction school, out of state, going through the school, buying a decent sound system. In fact, as I understand it, as students depart, one of the unique things about the school is we're not just going to toss you to the wolves. If there would be some need for some guidance, he's got the sound system, he's got the bid cards that he will agree to come in and assist, to help basically get someone off the ground in their first few auctions. I hope I'm not stealing any of your thunder, but for, 11 years now, and I know I've said it ad nauseum, I've always put out there Reverend Freddie Lee Phillips, the first and only African-American auctioneer in Louisiana's history. I will always be able to say, going forward, that he is the first African-American auctioneer in Louisiana's history, but the days, I think, are numbered when I'm going to be able to say only. And I'm very excited about that. I think diversity is a good thing. Ms. Jacobs, I think you alluded to last meeting that you were going to have an applicant that would have made...
Well, actually, it's my godson who's also African-American.
I'm sorry.
My godson.
Is he on? You said he'd be on here for today. I don't know if he is or not.
Well, he couldn't come today, but he's interested in car auctions, in fact, working right now.
So
That.
I would commend you on getting it to where he's not the only one.
I told Freddie he's going to have some serious competition.
But nothing wrong with that. I think that situation is quickly going to change, and I'm very pleased with it. Very pleased with the feedback that we've gotten from some that we have spoken to about this school. It's been in the works for 2.5 years. I think we may have one gentleman that will be speaking on that. Appreciate the opportunity to address you today. Look forward to the school becoming a reality. I did, as I mentioned, or as Freddie sent out, I do have, if anyone wants to look at it. And Ms. Jacobs, again, to your point, my part in this school will be to focus on the contractual law aspect and also some of the unique real estate aspects. As you've mentioned, leasing, if you value the property, if you didn't get at least half of it, you have the right to rescind. Things of this nature that you really need to know if you're going to do real estate auctions. I have, if anybody wants to look at it, this is the initial contractual law portion of our class that will be taught. These are exam questions for passing that portion. if you'd like to review them, I'll be happy to place them in front of you. I am going to ask that I get these back because they are proprietary, but if anyone wants to see them, I'll be happy to let you examine them. This has been a lot of work over the last 2.5 years. Like I said, it was our goal to kick it off a year ago, and then the flood hit in August. But finally, I believe he's ready to kick it off. Again, I appreciate the opportunity to have addressed you and look forward to the vote on this issue. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that wants to speak on the agenda?
Yes, my name is Billy Broussard. When I found out that Freddie Phillips had this on the agenda, which is marked as number 3 on the agenda, I was excited. I have a lot of lunches with elected officials, and in their community, they trying to find ways to help their low-income families on ways to make additional funds, additional money, and some that they trying to educate their constituents, get them into school. And I think college sometimes is steep. It's a lot of money, a lot of time, and I think this is a perfect opportunity for them to be able to, offer that to their constituents. And that's why I came here today. I'm in favor of it, and I'm actually looking forward into applying myself. So I hope that y'all consider it. I appreciate it.
Thank you for joining us. Anybody else?
Good morning. How y'all doing?
Morning.
Great morning. I'd just like to thank y'all in advance for what I know is going to become an added addition to our auction industry in the state of Louisiana, the Freddie Phillips School of Auctioneering, and looking forward to extending and expanding opportunities for others to enter into this profession. I'd like to say that, this is not my first rodeo. I was involved with the testing process while on the board and administering the bid hauling process. I was also involved in revising the testing process and played a very important part of doing that. So I'm very familiar with this industry, very familiar with the auction industry and the techniques of marketing. And so I thank you all in advance for what we will be doing. And as what Mr. Billy said there, several others have expressed interest, and we're working with other organizations to enhance the enrollment. And the good part about it, I like to say this, LAPA has been around now for some time, and what's going to be good about this is that we hope that many of the graduates from the Freddie Phillips School of Auctioneering would also become members of the Louisiana Association of Professional Auctioneering and being able to pursue those tenets that we have put forth. And I think that's going to be a good thing, and it's going to be a great thing for the state and for the southern region. So I'd just like to thank you all for your time and your efforts, and I'll entertain any questions if there are any. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. What, if anything, are you all going to do on the internet bidding at your school?
Well, right now, we have, and I've always looked at internet auctions and internet education as being convenient and formidable to today's time, with a lot of the institutions going to that. So that is on our radar. We're looking heavily at it. That's not something that we're not going to weigh out, especially when we can provide information that makes it even more convenient for students to be able to gain information, and when they do have to come into the classroom settings, it will be moderate and somewhat, feasible for them income-wise. And so, that's something we're looking at and looking into heavily.
Is your school going to be located here in Baton Rouge, or?
Yes, ma'am. We have been offered, I have it here, and also a couple of other parishes have asked me also to come in and provide satellite type schooling there, which we will go down and look at those facilities I've talked to and looked into that as well. So it's not going to be just solely here, because I already have 2 other people that are looking for me to even come in their area and do it. And we're working with a lot of my faith-based community as well.
Have you looked at the trade schools, such as Delgado and different ones that they might have up there?
I've talked to Dr. Bobby Fields at Southern University, and also Dr. Juanita Eubanks out at LSU as well, and looking at expanding our curriculum into those venues. So we're not just limited to Baton Rouge, because we're going to expand it out, and we're going to make it economical for all the constituents that we want to become part of Freddie Phillips School of Auctioneering and get a great education as well.
That's it. I mean, I think you should do very well with it.
Thank you very much.
Anybody else? Public comment? All right, next on the agenda, I need a motion to approve the minutes from the January 23rd meeting.
I'd like to move that the minutes from the last meeting be approved, Mr. Chairman.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Is there any further discussion about those? All those in favor?
All right.
Anybody opposed? Motion passes. The next item, we're going to need to get a motion to move into executive session.
I'd like to move, Mr. Chairman, that we go into executive session.
And this would be for the attorney investigative report pursuant to LARS 4217A1, A4, and/or A10.
Yes, ma'am.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
All right.
Roll call that.
Roll call it.
Mr. Brister.
Yes.
Ms. Jacobs.
Yes.
Mr. Henderson.
Yes.
Mr. Lockett.
Yes.
Mr. Sims.
Yes.
Mr. Warren.
Yes.
All right, we're in executive session. Mike, this is where you stop.
I'd like to make a motion that we come out of executive session.
Second. Sandy, can you roll call it?
Yes. Mr. Brister.
Yes.
Ms. Jacobs.
Yes.
Mr. Henderson.
Yes.
Mr. Lockett.
Yes.
Mr. Warren.
Yep.
All right, we are back in.
Motion passes.
Call me.
I'm sorry.
Oh.
Mr. Sims.
Yes.
I was looking at my notes.
Passes. All right, next item on the agenda is going to be the renewal of approval of the pre-licensing education at the Burke Baker School.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion that we defer.
Let me put
Well, I think Ann's got an update.
Basically, after we approved the Burke Baker School curriculum in our last meeting, after the meeting, we learned that their instructor, Mr. T.C. Shirley, had retired and was no longer teaching there. As a result, when I looked at their website concerning their classes, they had a class listed as starting today. And Sandy contacted them regarding who was doing their teaching, and we learned that they did not have an instructor currently to teach their auction school. So I asked that this be put onto the agenda so that you both be aware of the fact they have no instructor, and that although they were approved, I am suggesting to the board that legally, since we approved the curriculum, and I think it's the board's desire that a licensee at least be available to teach the curriculum, that we basically not renew them, and basically suspend their renewal until such time as they have a licensed auctioneer or someone who can teach their auction classes. I don't think that y'all intended for them to have no one there available to teach, and that was part of what we thought was going on in January.
I'd like to defer their approval until such time as they get a licensed auctioneer in order to teach the school.
Well, I don't know that we can defer. It's already been approved, so you're going to have to suspend.
Well, then suspend it.
Suspend it. Reword it.
I'd like to suspend their licensing until such time as they get a licensed auctioneer to teach at the school.
Yeah, they're not licensed, it's approved, so yeah.
All those in favor?
All right.
Any further discussion about it? Any opposition? Motion passes. The next item is going to be the approval of pre-licensing education for the Freddie Lee Phillips School of Auctioneering.
Move grant of license.
A second.
All those in favor?
All right.
Any opposition?
We're going to have some discussion.
Yeah, any discussion about it?
Yeah. I need to
Yep.
get it fixed.
Go for it, Mr. Sims.
Fred, would you mind asking a couple of questions?
Answer.
Not picking on you. What is your fee going to be for this school?
Well, we're going to make the fee economical depending on the student's ability.
Or you going to have some kind of,
We're going to have,
what I'm getting at, are you going to open it up to I think it's the, doesn't the VA have some kind of funding for training former military stuff? You gonna have some,
Veterans School.
you have some veterans assistance and all kind of stuff. I'm just curious. I mean, it's immaterial, but I'm just wondering.
Let me just say this, Mr. Sims, we've looked into working with veterans. I have guys who are veterans that are interested in the profession, and they have expressed to me that the government does have assistance in those regards. In addition to that, we have not set in stone a fee. We know what our competitors are, that we're not worried about that. We're trying to make sure that we can help the less fortunate. And if you're not aware of it, Ms. Steinkamp mentioned this a while back with the discontinued, the apprentice program, how hard it was for somebody to take off for 2 weeks or 3 weeks and lose pay. So you have to take into consideration the economic position of the student themselves, and we're going to ask some sponsorships from businesses and things like that to help kind of underwrite some of that cost. And I think that's going to be a win-win, especially when the faith-based churches and things of that magnitude.
How long are you going to stretch this out? I mean, you've got 80 hours of curriculum, and I take it that you and Robert are going to do all the instruction?
Yes, sir.
I mean, are you going to try to stretch it out more than over? Most auction schools are 2 weeks.
That's correct. And I can say
And
this.
I'm just
Let me just-
concerned. Are you going to try to stretch it over a longer period of time, or?
Yes.
I know what you're trying to do, and I respect what you're trying to do, and I'm all for what you're trying to do. But usually there's a time limit on
Yes.
the retention of what you're teaching somebody too.
Correct. And, we're going to make all materials available to students, but we're going to give the student the benefit of the doubt in a 6-month time frame. And that's so that the student can have time to work, not interfere with their work schedule and other things as they go along. I'm in the Bob Brooks School of Realty right now. They're not pushing me. They knew I flooded and things like that. And so, they give you a break. You can't really have the hardship. A student may be going through something, but at the same time, we want to try to accommodate the student as much as possible and work along with the student if the student is trying to do what's necessary to meet the curriculum. And, at that point, then we'll have to make a determination to terminate that student or to continue, just depending on the student's situation. And there's a lot of situations that can, vary with change in that purpose. But overall, our initial goal is 6 months. But we know a lot of students are not going to take 6 months, but at least those who are going through the work schedule may need to, just depending on what's going on in their life and their family life.
Are you going to tell them, like most auctioneers, that you go to auction school too?
Sir, I couldn't hear you.
Are you going, when they part your school, are you going to inform them of work, the free work they got to do?
Well, that's how you get started.
That's
how you get started.
When I left auction school, it was 1.5 years. I understand now it's 2 to 3 years.
Correct. We have enough generating auctions that we do voluntarily to help St. Jude and other organizations. So I tell anybody, start off by giving before you receive. That's Galatians 6 and 7.
Good luck to you, Freddie.
So
Yeah, good luck.
the curriculum's going to be basically tailored to each individual? You're going to be able to teach it at their own pace?
Well, the curriculum will be based on the curriculum criteria. The
Right.
student will be able to use their time to progress through it.
That's what I'm getting at. As a student, you can have a student do it in 3 weeks or 3 years, so to speak. I mean,
Well, 6 months.
hopefully, yes, I'm just saying, at their own pace.
Yes.
Good deal.
This is your curriculum. This is what you're going to teach.
That's,
I'm assuming the material that.
yes, correct.
I mean, this material was provided to me, or what the hourly breakdown is.
That's the breakdown of the course curriculum.
Okay.
I reviewed it. I've just some suggestions, just based off of what I had to learn in school. And let me preface this with saying, you guys, I'm actually excited about your school. You've got my full support. I think it'll be great to have a successful school out of the state of Louisiana, and I think you guys have all the potential in the world to make this a successful entity. Just like I said, suggestions I'd like to see them put in there. Maybe teach the students how to make up their advertisement their own ads and do a radio ad, so to speak, maybe even incorporate that into your final exam. Because there's all kind of laws with ads. We all know that with the license number at the bottom and time and date and all that stuff. So, and I may have overlooked that. If that's not in here, I may have overlooked it. Forgive me.
You ain't got it in your curriculum, you need
Right.
to at least put a print ad in there.
And then now being on the board, some of the issues we get to look at pertain to accounting and mathematics. I think that should be a vital part of your operation as well. Kind of teach them how to balance the books, what the income and revenue and whatnot. I mean, some people, especially a younger person, probably doesn't know how to even balance a checkbook these days. I mean, I'm not belittling anyone, but I mean that, so that sort of stuff help them be successful in the industry. And like I said, I'm looking forward to you two having a successful school, and hopefully, we can hear a lot of success stories come out of there, and successful and ethical auctioneers come out of there.
We take that in consideration, knowing that there are various sightings that students must know, and I thank you for bringing that up. That is one, the accounting mechanisms, especially, we use a basic spreadsheet that allows them to be able to do certain things the proper way. First you got to learn how to add and subtract. That's what the Channing does. It allows them
that's right.
to increase their mathematics and things of that magnitude. And then also, we've sat in enough meetings, and I've sat on enough boards to know that there are certain things that we have seen come across here that we're aware of. We're at every meeting, we'll continue to be at every meeting. So that's added information, especially in auction law portion, that the student would be apprised to, that would help that student really gain a lot of information, especially when they have to come before this board for some type of citation violation. So they'll know what to expect if they ever have to, but we'll warn them what not to do so they won't have to appeal before this board.
Any further discussion? All right. Do we need to go back
very much.
through the motion to
We had a
It's already-
motion from Jim and a second from Darlene.
Okay.
Yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition?
No?
Motion passes. Best of luck to you guys. Freddie? Congratulations. Congrats. Next item will be the review of tested auctioneer applicants. We've got 3, Brian Morris, Joe Mitchell Jr., and Daniel Winston. Those need to be approved. Motion approved.
I'd like to make a motion, Mr. Chairman, that Mr. Morris, Mr. Mitchell, and Mr. Winston be approved.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Jeff. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any further discussion? I did that backwards, but anybody opposed? The motion passes. We've got one more tested auctioneer applicant, Miss Olivia Honig. We need a motion, but it's pending her exam. She has yet to take her exam, so pending passing the exam, we'll grant her a license.
I'd like to make a motion that Ms. Honig be approved pending the passing of the exam.
1 second. She also lives in Iowa, and her testing is set for early next week. So
She got all the other paperwork in.
everything's in order, yes, sir.
I'll second.
Mr. Brister seconds. Any further discussion pertaining to this? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion passes. The next item is going to be review of reciprocal auctioneer applicants. They're going to be Mr. Jimmy Page. We granted him a temporary license on March the 1st. Mr. Reagan Stanford, Mr. Lamar Fisher, and Miss Georgia Landry. Sorry.
I'd like to make a motion that Mr. Page, Mr. Stanford, Mr. Fisher, and Ms. Landry be approved.
Got a second? Mr. Jeff. Any further discussion pertaining to these guys and lady? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion passes. Next item is going to be the auction business applicant. We're going to review that. Fisher Auction Company. Is there any discussion pertaining to that? Yeah, need a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that the Fisher Auction Company be approved.
Can you get a second? Second. Mr. Lockett. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion passes.
Move to approve the financials as written.
Second.
They're on your packet. All right. Got a second. Any further discussion? 1 minute. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion passes. The next item is going to be the Louisiana Resident Auctioneer Owning an LLC, sole proprietorship, corporation, or a limited partnership that involves an auction business. They must obtain a separate business license with a higher bond. Any discussion on that?
This is my agenda item. I want to move to table this, and I'll tell you why. I read a letter after I got here today from the T.S. Holt Company with his concern about higher bond fees is going to cause problems for Louisiana auctioneers to get higher bonds. Now, even though you've already got a $50,000, you, for example, you've got not only your bond up here, but you got a $50,000 bond up with motor vehicle. So, you know, until we can do some more research and get some more feedback from somebody besides T.S. Holt Company, I would like this to be tabled.
I move that it be tabled.
I want to talk to some Louisiana bonding agents to get their clip on this as well. I think we need to talk to
Yes.
the International Sureties in New Orleans, and there's a lot of other independent agencies that we need to talk with too.
I agree. I mean, it's definitely something we need to get a grip on, it seems to
We
be.
don't need to just jump up and do something and then go create a bunch of problems. But
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you.
so if everybody's okay with that.
Move that it be tabled. It's been seconded by Mr. Driscoll.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion, any opposition? Motion passes. The next meeting date will be May the 8th of 2017.
Move to adjourn.
Second. Have a good day.
Thank you.